Getting started with these cabinets, I usually like to just bring in a few, not all of the cabinets. Some guys start with the top. I like starting with the bottom for whatever reason. I have my reasons, I guess. But anyways, I start with the base cabinets and like to get the corners basically where they go so I can find the high and low side of the room. Starting in the corner, I got a Lazy Susan. This one needs to be super plumb and square. And then the next important cabinet for me would be the sink cabinet that's centered on the window. I got a center line for the window and then my level line for the top of the cabinet. The center line will extend all the way down as far as I need to go to get all my measurements. Like this, I got to go out onto the floor also with the center line because I got a heat register and then the cold and hot water supply, the wire for the garbage disposal and the drain, plus some dishwasher stuff too that have to go in there. I did find out this left side, I got these about where they go. It's going to be my high side, so I plumbed everything on this side, got them pretty close to where they're going to be, and readjusted my level line. So this Lazy Susan's a little bit low. It's going to be my low side. I'm going to have to bump that up just a little bit. And then we can just keep going. So my stove's going to be there just to the right of that Lazy Susan. The sink cabinet, I like to get all my marks for all these things. I'll transfer to the over to the cabinet, which I have a center line drawn on the back of the sink cabinet. And then I measure from the center out and the top down for the drain, not from the bottom up. You want to go from your level line down. And then anything that needs measured out from the wall, like these supply lines, and I'll transfer those measurements to the top of the cabinet as well. Because what I do is I just make my marks on the top of the cabinet. I just find it's just easier for me. I don't know. I've been doing it like this for a while. And then I can just transfer those marks to the inside of the cabinet. So I'm drilling out through the cabinet, so I'm not drilling up into the cabinet. You'll blow out that surface. So drilling from the inside out's your better option. So yeah, these marks from the center line, I transferred to the inside of the cabinet and marked those as well. So after I drilled those holes, I drilled the drain hole first because I do have to extend this down on both sides, and I'm going to use that to patch after I'm done, because with the water lines coming up through the floor and the drain poking out so far, I'm not going to be able to get this cabinet in here without doing that. So I got to kind of go in at an angle. And so getting back to this Lazy Susan, I got this all adjusted nice, shimmed on the studs and shimmed on the floor wherever you need a shim. Put a shim to make this thing perfectly level, square, and plumb. This is going to be your starting point in the corner. So you should be able to put a level pretty much anywhere on this cabinet, and it should read level. The fronts, the sides, the top, anywhere you put this thing, it should read nice and straight. So reason for that is just this is your starting point, so it makes everything else go good. This side on the right side is Lazy Susan. The stove's getting slid in right here, so you want to make sure that this cabinet is square to the wall. This left side, not quite as critical, but the side that has the stove on it, I want to make sure that this cabinet is coming out square from this wall. your walls aren't perfect, and no house is perfect. You're going to have some crooked somewhere, so it's just a matter of knowing where to put it. So yeah, you want to make sure that your cabinet's nice and square out from this wall, so your countertops will sit nice, and then your stove will slide in real nice, and you won't have any crooked showing there. Like I said, this left side, not as critical. You do have a little bit of play there if you have to knock it out of square a little bit. This heat register, I like to build these little wooden box. A lot of air gets lost under these cabinets if you don't do something. Plus, this serves another purpose. I can screw the register cover to it, and it also stiffens up the front of that toe kick. So this will keep a lot of air coming out, forcing the air out rather than getting lost under the cabinet. And see that particle board, over time it gets kind of loose and wobbly. So with that little wooden box under there, that just helps stiffen everything up. So you just take your time and, get everything where it needs to be. There's a lot of stuff going on with your sink cabinet especially. So after I got this in, I shimmed it up to the level line, and I got it on my center mark. Excuse me. And there wasn't enough room to put a cabinet here, so I got a filler here. I'll screw from both sides. I like to I use a bit that's as big around as the shank of the screw, and then I leave it short a little bit so I don't drill it too deep. I'm going to fur out the wall there. I'm going to glue these two pieces in here to patch this back in. Yeah, I'll just glue those. I didn't glue them in. I just kind of set them there so you can see. But yeah, I'll glue those in there, and then it doesn't look too bad. There's going to be so much stuff under there, you'll never see it. So moving on to the rest of the cabinets, shimmed, screwed together, level, square. This is another important measurement here, 24 inches for your dishwasher. That needs to be dead on, straight up and down. Just make sure your cabinets are in there straight. The cleat on the wall is 3/4. If you put 1.5 inches, like a 2x4 against the wall, sometimes it can be sticking out too far. So I always stick to 3/4 board there for a ledger for the countertops. This particular layout has a cabinet facing the back side, and this is going to get a panel. So I'm going to beef up the back of this. These cabinets are kind of flimsy, so I'm going to fur it out with some OSB. I got some wood glue on there, and I'm just going to fur this out just to make it a little more solid. They're going to have a couple stools here, so when people's knees or feet, little kids kicking on it or something. Sometimes you got enough room for a 3/4 board on the back. But this wasn't the case. I had to use a 1/4 inch panel, so that's why I'm furring these out. Like I said, this is just going to give it some strength, so it's not all floppy and wobbly and whatever. So I'm going to put some wood screws in here in the 4 corners. There, my panel, yeah, from left to right there. That's all the farther it's going. So I'm going to put, these screws. It's just going to hold this till the glue dries. And then tomorrow I'll take that off, put the panel back on. And then moving on to, after I got everything set, you should be able to put a level anywhere in this kitchen. Left to right, top to bottom, side to side. Everywhere you go, it should be level. Solid surface, granite, that kind of stuff. I got quartz going in here. It needs to be, super nice. So we'll make it that way. Everything's in, so I'm going to score and go around and score and snap all these shims off. Score and snap them. If you got to cut all the way through them because they're thick, go ahead and do that. Just make sure there's no chunks of shim sticking out anywhere. So yeah, on the floor there, Make sure I get all those. I got a new floor going in here, so I want to make sure all these are cut and snapped off real nice. The upper cabinets, I pre-drill and start my screws. I already located the studs, but on the top I got a couple pieces of trim going up here. So I nailed a piece of wood to the cabinet itself, and then I'm going to put another piece of wood over top of that, and that's going to fur it out enough to get my two-piece crown going. So there you can see I start in the corner with my cabinets, but I'm having to put these boards on here as I go because there's not a whole lot of room above the cabinets to get in there and work. It's only about 6 inches or 7 inches or something like that. So I got my piece nailed to the cabinet, and then I got this other piece I'm just going to glue and brad that on there, and that gets it out flush to the front of the cabinet, and that's going to give me a surface to nail my first piece of trim to, which is like an upside down baseboard. It's about 4.5 inches tall, and that's going to keep that nice and flat, keep it on there real sturdy, so when I put my crown on, it's not going to be flopping around. So I got a pretty good sized crown going in here, and I got the crown on, and I'll caulk between the crown and the ceiling. So after the quartz went in, I got my backsplash on. You can see the floor, the new floor is in vinyl plank. Got a Schluter rail going around on the exposed sides of the backsplash to match the hardware. So yeah, all they have to do is paint. I'm not painting in here. Homeowner's going to paint, but yeah, they did a great job picking out colors and textures. So yeah, don't be afraid to get your hands dirty here. So just take your time, and yeah, I hope that works out for you, and let me know if you got any questions.